What is going on?
Yes!
It's that time. It's that time. Podcast time.
Podcasting! Oh, come on. How you going,
Alright.
Raph?
Hey man, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I've been going to the gym a bit this week, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Ooh.
We had the announcement about the nuclear vision thing. We had
Yeah,
Kazzy
congratulations.
saying thank you. We had Kazzy saying last weekend he's announced that the Tensions Arise reunion show is something that's in the works, so
Far
that's going to
out.
be
It's
fun.
busy Raph.
Yeah, man, just been working on a lot of that shit. So it's been a bit of a crazy week, but
Yeah.
we're getting there. I've started booking my holiday to America that I've been thinking about doing, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah,
I'm gonna
lots
send
of
you. I'm
shit
gonna send
happening.
you. I'm gonna send you a care package before you go.
Man, feel free. Lots of shit happening in my life though with Adelaide. How about you though? How about you? What have you
Well, man, I've been a
been
bit
doing?
lazy with the whole beer buddy thing. I don't know what's going on. But regardless of that, we're getting back into it. We're going to get back into the music promo thing and start watching video
Yep.
clips again on the weekends and stuff like that. So we're going to have a crack at
Cool.
that this weekend. But no,
Awesome.
it's Mrs. Beer Buddy's birthday today. So a big happy
Oh,
birthday
happy birthday to
to
Mrs. Beer
Mrs.
Buddy.
Beer Buddy. So I love you, babe. Thank you so much. I know it was a bit of a tough slog of the day with the kids, but you're an absolute champion. But
That's
other than
awesome.
that,
Speaking of watching music videos, got a little bit of a surprise for everybody. We did if you know Slaughter to Prevail, they actually released a brand new song this week. So what I did was I sat down, I watched it, recorded my live genuine reactions, first time hearing the song, first time watching the clip. That's going to be up on the YouTube channel immediately after the podcast finishes. So make
yes,
sure you
go
go around,
watch
go
it.
around and
Go
check that
watch
one
it.
out. It's
Go
an
watch it.
absolute banger of a song, as most of their stuff is. But this one's a bit more, lyrics are a bit more sort of political than some of the other stuff, which is really cool. And slightly different musical direction in a couple of parts to some of their other stuff as well. So I'm excited. I was excited for it. I'm really, really digging that one. So anyway, I won't go on about it too much because obviously you guys can get all my thoughts on the
Yeah, watch the
on the
video
thing. Watch
and
the
then
video.
comment.
Go to
Comment.
the
Tell us what
YouTube.
you
Watch
think.
that for sure. Absolutely. And if there's if you like it, if you want to see more stuff like that, let us know because we want to give you guys the content you want to see. So
Yeah, man.
that's if that's something you guys want to see more of, then we'll absolutely try and get on board with that. Shall we bring on
We gotta
our
do it.
esteemed guest?
We gotta do it. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. Oh, you
All
gotta do
right,
the intro to this one, man.
ladies and gentlemen, this man that we have on today
Ooh,
is,
ooh.
I mean, as someone who plays bass, this man's skill is off the charts as far as I'm concerned. This man can play shit that I could never even dream of being able to play. He is in two amazing bands, one of which just played Wacken Open Air Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring him in here. The master himself, STOJA.
Oh, those words. You're inflating my ego, mate. Nah, appreciate it.
Mate,
Thanks for having me on, boys.
mate, not a problem at all. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was kind of short notice with everything, but you're a legend. You for coming on at this short notice, especially with getting back not that long ago. When did you actually get back from Europe?
Mate, I flew back, I think left Germany Friday night,
Hmm.
returned Sunday morning, and
Okay,
went back to work the next day. So
mate,
I've only
you
been here
are,
for a few days.
dude. That's brutal, man. Sorry, coming back and going back to work straight away like that. That's intense. That's hard working, man. I don't know if I could do that, but
Mate,
yeah.
the
So
the
first,
the jet lag
yeah,
is awful. I don't know if it's a mix of the jet lag, like drinking for 4 days straight, or just exhaustion from not sleeping the entire festival. But yeah, we're getting back. We're getting back.
okay. So first up, I think some very major congratulations are in order. You and the Lycanthrope boys just did what so many people would dream of doing. You guys went and you guys played Wacken Open Air. Now you guys won a competition Australia wide. Was it Australia or Australia and New Zealand wide
It
competition?
was it was Australia and New Zealand.
And New
So
Zealand.
it
Okay.
was each state, best unsigned bands in each state, which
Yep.
then went to the Australian New Zealand final, of which we
Mhm.
won, and then we were off to Barkin soon after that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, there was I saw some of the other bands that were involved in that. There was a lot of talent there. So,
Oh,
for you guys to come out on
incredible.
top, it just shows how well deserved that is. Uh, I mean, look, I'm sure most of the bands that were involved would have been deserving of winning for sure. But you guys ended up coming out on top, which is amazing. And I think you guys are a would have been a great representation of Australian heavy music at something like that. I think you were telling us before we came on, it was only you guys and Rose Tattoo were the only Australian acts to perform, I think.
Yep,
Was that
correct,
right? So,
correct, and we were the first Australian representatives for the Barking Metal Battle. So
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
massive honour on us, and we feel privileged to be there. So really appreciate the feedback, boys.
yeah, that was amazing. So before we get too much into the interview stage, there, we'll just hit some news stories.
Mm-hmm.
We got some big ones, so let's get to the news.
Cut
Yeah,
away.
let's do it.
Do it.
All right. So, look, well, first up, we're going to start with a bit of a sad story this week, unfortunately. The absolutely incredible Dame Olivia Newton-John has passed away this week at the age of 73. Now, I didn't actually know that she was originally born in the UK, and her family emigrated to Australia when she was about 6, I think. But she's pretty much known as an Australian icon. Throughout the 70s and 80s, she was all over the charts globally with her music. She won over her career. She won something like 10 American Music Awards, which I think was a record that stayed in place for something like 20 years for a solo female artist. She won 4 Grammys, including Video of the Year for Physical in 1982. And that apparently spent more time at the top of the US singles charts than any other song in the 1980s. So you got to respect that amount of success there. So in total, like 5 number ones in the US charts and nearly 40 songs that charted on Billboard. In the UK, it was 3 number ones and 26 charting songs. She actually represented the UK for Eurovision in 1974, which was wild. Back-to-back number one albums in the 70s with If You Love Me, Let Me Know in 1974 and Have You Ever Been Mellow in 1975. She obviously started in Greece in 78. She had a long battle with breast cancer on and off throughout her life. I think she was first diagnosed in 1992 and, obviously got treatment for it, and it came and went across various times in her life. She actually did a lot of charity work as a result of this. She established the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund, which is a charity that sponsors global research into medicine, including medicinal cannabis. She was inducted... Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Big advocate for that. She was inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame in 2002, was named an Officer of the Order of Australia in 2006 for service to the entertainment industry. Tributes have been pouring in from all across the globe, from people in all walks of life. So it's been, I think it goes without saying, someone of that caliber has had an effect on so many lives across the world. And even though her music isn't necessarily personally something that we would listen to, her representation of Australian music and culture throughout her life is just incredible. So, as small of a channel as we are, we obviously send our condolences to the family, and we send out our love and respect to Olivia Newton-John, who, as we said, unfortunately has passed away at the age of 73.
Well said.
I don't think I try and think about Australian, female Australian musical icons throughout that I've been aware of growing up, and she's like probably the biggest one of the biggest ones I can think of.
Yep.
Absolutely just an icon of the industry. So it's sad, but hopefully her charity can continue on and continue conducting effective research and keep the legacy going, because that's what's going to be really important, I think.
Yeah, we've seen that she was knocking on death's door just I think she knew her time was up. So I was seeing something that she sold a majority of her possessions over the last few months to fuel to research and research as well. So really, really good of her. Obviously, she's done a lot of a lot of investment into cancer research. So just hope that continues going forward and her legacy can live on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, moving on to a less sad story now. Kyle, do you want to take this one here? Just a bit of an update from Live Nation. August.
100 million.
Yep. Now that being a Q2 report, that'll be up until the end of June, I believe. So that's not even factoring in July and August yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Billion.
Yep.
That's insane.
$1 billion. Yes. That's crazy. I mean, it really does show like how much people are, as you said, hankering to get back out there to live music. That being in half a year, they've sold more than what they sold in all of 2019. People are just. Granted, there's probably a lot more shows happening now, especially international tours. These tours that have been postponed and or cancelled and then rescheduled. Bands that haven't been able to tour that are now trying to do all of these tours. I think it's just the market is so flooded with events right now. I mean, I look at what's happened, events that are on here, even around Brisbane, and there's more than it definitely feels like more than what there was before the pandemic. So things are really getting crammed in and lots of shows happening. So, yeah. Oh dear. Have you lost sound?
We can still hear you.
Yeah, we can still hear you, my brother. Please hold. We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Am I back? Daddy Frank, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for that. So, what I was saying before, Live Nation sold 100 million tickets in 2022, $4.3 billion of revenue raised. Now that I'm back.
Yeah. So those are wild numbers. They really, really are. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that dip as we go into the 2023, 2024, as things kind of settle back into a rhythm again. But those are incredible numbers.
That is.
I think, as you were saying, they're just hanging to go back to shows. We've had 2 years of nothing. They're just stinging to go back.
Oh yeah. I mean, even the Sydney local scene's going pretty gangbusters at the moment. It's everything's it's going, everything's selling out. I mean, look at the Sunk Lodo shows. That is a fucking perfect example.
Yes.
Like, obviously,
Absolutely.
during COVID, people have just, like, dusted off their CDs, and Sunk Lodo have noticed that they probably got paid once or twice from fucking Spotify or something. They've just gone, fuck this, let's fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how long has it been since their last album? Like, would have been close to about 15 years.
Yeah,
probably more than
20 years. I want to probably
20.
coming up to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time I saw
Been
them,
a
I
while.
was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
It would have been high school days. Yeah. Oh God, we're showing our age. No.
Nah, it's all right. We're just like a fine wine, mate. It's not getting old. It's just growing wisdom.
I like
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, moving from one ticketing company to a ticket reselling company, Viagogo, which is a ticket reseller, is being investigated by the Western Australian Consumer Protection Board. There we go, under their scalping laws. So basically what happened is in 2011, Western Australia introduced laws that basically made it illegal for ticket reseller websites to use bots or to have bots utilize the platforms and to resell a ticket for more than 110% of the original ticket price, which is pretty fair. I mean, it's pretty reasonable if you ask me. Like, there's massive problem with scalpers using bots to buy up a whole bunch of tickets and then they just try and resell them to make a profit. Essentially, the instances that they're investigating at the moment is relating to tickets that have markups, and they're for concerts by Billie Eilish, Justin Bieber, Tyler the Creator, as well as some other events like a Harlem Globetrotters game, Super Netball Grand Final, and even the Van Gogh Alive art exhibition. So some of these tickets were ranging from 2 times the original price to up to 9 times the original price, which obviously violates that 110% rule that came in. Basically, Gary Newcomb, who is the Commissioner for Consumer Protection, explained basically it's the legal obligation of these websites if they're going to be operating in, selling to Western Australians, is they've got a legal obligation to, identify these sales that are illegal and remove them from the site. Now, something that's interesting to me is the federal Labor government has actually also indicated they might look to introduce similar laws like on a national level in terms of consumer protections there, which, I'd absolutely welcome that move. As I said, it's far too common for scalpers to rip events in like that. And funnily enough, this isn't actually the first time that Viagogo's got in trouble with Australian consumer protections. In 2017, the ACCC took legal action against them for, quote, false or misleading representations, which actually resulted in a $7 million fine being issued by the federal court. Viagogo did appeal that, but that was dismissed in May of this year. So, look, I 100% agree that this is the right move. Websites like this that facilitate ticket on selling, I've looked into them for events myself a couple of times, and the pricing is just stupid. And I guess, okay, people will sell it for what people are willing to pay, but come on, guys, but give us a break.
The big problem here is that the next step for this is that the price in general for tickets will go up, because artists will soon start to cotton on that, hey, people are willing to obviously pay the 110% markup, which is bad enough. And then when you start adding 200% on top of that, any artist out there is going to go, well, I want that extra 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
I guess that's
the catch-22. That's the catch-22, right? With these reselling websites, the artist doesn't see any of that money, but
they see that money going to them. So
but they see the tickets selling at that kind of price. So, but the question's going to be not, while some people might be willing to buy at those drastically inflated prices, not everyone is. But yeah, I think it's a catch-22, right? I think the consumer protection laws, though, in this regard, are they're well overdue. So I really would be very happy to see, the federal government bring that in across the country. I think definitely seems like the right move.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's already bad enough that you got people like Ed Sheeran and Beyonce and stuff like that charging upwards of $300-$400 a ticket.
Yeah. Look, I agree. It's unfortunate, especially
that's
when
in order to try and stop people from scalping.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter. The people that are scalping that make a business of it, that's how they make a living. So they've got capital there to do this shit. Yeah. They don't care that they're $400 or $500 off the thing. They just go in and do it. So, all right. Well, look, we'll tilt it back over to you, Kyle, for this last one.
Yeah,
but we're going from. I mean, we're talking about governments taking, bringing in legislation in the music space. I think this is one about the Greens wanting to bring in sick pay for arts workers.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to try and work this, but the Greens are trying to push for self-employed musicians and production crews to be eligible for sick pay. Which, I mean, yeah, if you're self-employed and stuff like that, and it's under an ABN and all that, you should be entitled to sick pay if you're not working casual and all that stuff. Gabrielle Davitti, Greens Party candidate for Richmond, Victoria, upcoming state election, has started petitioning urging Victorian Labor government to extend its new sick pay guarantees to include casual and self-employed workers in the arts, basically. Which is good because
I mean, the way I was reading it, I think when they say self-employed, they mean if you have to work as a contractor.
Yeah.
That's the way I took it.
Gig economy sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a contractor, you've got your own ABN working as a production crew person, and you're contracting to these various production crew agencies. I think that's when they talk about self-employed, it's in that context maybe, is how I was reading it. But But yeah, so because basically what happened, right, is the Victorian government brought in sick pay guarantees for casual workers, right?
Especially the hospitality industry, really for the hospitality industry.
To try and limit these people going to work during the pandemic, right, when they were sick. People got sick during the pandemic, they're like, well, I don't have sick leave because I'm casual, so I have to go to work. That was boosting the spread of stuff, basically. So they brought this in, I think it was initially as a temporary thing for 2 years, but they're looking at extending it or making it permanent. But they want to basically bring this in. It already covers about 1,500 hospitality workers, but it goes, it's food preparation assistants, sales support workers, labourers in supermarket supply chains, aged care, disability workers, cleaners, laundry. It's a whole range of stuff. And it basically looks like the Greens are trying to push for that to also include arts workers, which I think
rightly so. You can't have the security guard looking after you getting sick pay, and then the person that's playing not.
Yeah, or the sound guys and production crew and all this kind of stuff. These are people that were really hit so hard by the pandemic that to have, if they can get anything out of it, a degree of protection of something like this, I think it'd be. I think a slight silver lining.
I think the hard thing would be is because do you work in 8 or 9 hour blocks? I think that's why they're doing it at such a good. They're doing it at the minimum wage, so that's at $20.33 that they're trying to average it out per hour.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which is good.
Yeah.
Although they end up figuring that out,
Mate,
I'm not entirely sure how the scheme works.
What good sound guy's taking $20 an hour?
Look, I agree. It's not what they would be paid if they were working, but it's something. It's something, which obviously means that if it's the difference between someone that is sick having to go into work and A, potentially infecting other people, B, taking longer for them to get better, surely if they can go, okay, well, at least I have a couple of sick days, I can use those sick days, not infect other people, I can rest, recover, I can get healthier and back to work quicker. It just seems to be all round a pretty solid idea. So I'm happy to hear that. I want to try and keep an eye on this one. If there's any movement in it, either way, we'll definitely try and
any developments.
Definitely try and update people on it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to this day in music.
Where is it?
Carl's gonna hit that.
There we
that
go.
Little cutaway.
Yeah.
All right.
Today, the 11th of August.
Today,
what happened?
Yeah. So, today on the 11th of August in 1956, Elvis Presley's double-sided hit "Don't Be Cruel" and "Hound Dog" came out. So that one's pretty wild. Happy birthday to you, ain't nothing but a hound dog. In 1966, John Lennon apologized at a press conference for his comments that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus.
To be fair.
Basically,
we actually had to hold a press conference.
Well, look, it was. You got to remember, mate. This is the '60s. Like, people was far more religious. I mean, more people were openly religious, I think, then than they are now. Basically, I think what he came out and said was, "Look, it's not to say we're better than God or Jesus. It was just, it was the first very popular thing that came to my head. I could have said we're more popular than TV, or we're more popular than, the movies or something like that." In 1989, 3 members of LL Cool J crew were arrested and charged with sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl backstage after a concert, which is pretty crazy. And I mean, you think about, it's just crazy. Like, I think that to me is nuts. Like, you look back on what a lot of these rappers that are like, that we look at them now and we're like, yeah, they're just rappers, right? Like Snoop Dogg is like, Snoop Dogg's got a very, very serious past, like the stuff he was involved with, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of people. Ice-T, like all these people that they had.
Ice-T was a pimp.
Yeah, they got all kinds of histories there, and you don't think about it now, because especially over here, because we're so removed from it all. We only ever really saw the music and the good side of it.
You didn't even really see the good side of it. I mean, back then you got to think, right? There weren't those. It wasn't like now where you could just go watch a concert or watch documentaries on these people. You got fed it. You got fed what they wanted you to see.
Absolutely, and without the internet being as a thing as nearly as much back then, you weren't exposed to that stuff. 1999, Kiss unveiled their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Kill.
That's awesome. If there was ever an occasion to rock and roll all night and party every day, that's definitely it.
Either one.
I love
And
it.
in 2014, 5 Seconds of Summer, a Penrith boys, became the first Australian act to achieve a #1 US album with their debut release.
Good on him. Good on him.
I think whatever you think about them musically, like, you got to give them credit for
Credit where credit's due, man.
making that kind of achievement. So good on those boys, and that is our This Day in Music.
There it is.
Time to get to the main event.
This
the main event.
I love doing these, man. Especially when other people do them. Like, we get our ones, but it's so good when we get to hear the band, like, people just, I love it.
Absolutely, and getting to know more about, the people that we got on, because a lot of the people we've talked to so far have been friends of ours, but, it's always nice to learn more about them, because you don't always get to know that stuff. So, Matthew STOJA, amazing bass player, who I know from NOVEAUX and also LYCANTHROPE, but tell us a little bit more about your musical history. Like, what bands did you play in previously? How did you get started in music? Like, what's your history of that?
All right, so admittedly a bit of a late bloomer when it came to music. I didn't end up picking up an instrument till I was probably early 20s, I guess. Obviously, being a kid growing up in the new metal era, listening to Korn, Limp Bizkit, Mudvayne, that sort of thing. The first instrument, the most iconic instrument with all of that, the bass.
Man,
absolutely.
Yes.
Fuck, you've really fucking nailed that one, haven't you? When you're fucking right, you're right.
Yeah, Ryan Martini. That's pretty much. As soon as I heard, was it that LD40? Was it LD? No, sorry.
LD50.
LD50. That's the one. As soon as I heard that album, and I think I saw them live soon after that, I'm just like, this is my calling. This is what I gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
So probably about 2012, I joined my first band, which was a sort of industrial groove band called the Arbitrary Method.
Yep. Good old Arbitrary Method. I completely forgot that you were in the Arbitrary Method, dude. I'm so sorry. I should have remembered that.
I did too.
Yeah, so that was early 2012 that all started off, and everything's kind of steamrolled from there. Ended up filling in for a couple of other bands as well. Over the years, it's been like Empirical, Pink Industrial Whores. I think I did a brief stint with Caraway Seed at one point. So I've done a whole heap of different genres. And then around 2013, I was asked to help out with Lycanthrope for a festival. We ended up being a band that we just got along with really well. I helped out for one show. It was a festival on the Central Coast. We were playing with Make Them Suffer, I Killed the Prom Queen, Aversion's Crown, 15 other bands. Played that one show, and nearly 10 years later, I'm still here.
Wow.
Dude, that's a good record, man. It's not, one, there's not a lot of Aussie bands that keep going for 10 years, and two, to be in the bands for that long is very, very solid work. So
I give them heaps, just saying, oh look, I'm a fill-in. Yeah, I'm still a fill-in. 7 years later, you got to find a replacement one day.
Yeah.
As for my time with NOVEAUX, obviously the industrial heavyweight that they are. I've known Barnsey since the early industrial Arbitrary Method days. NOVEAUX was initially a one-piece sort of EBM industrial project from James, grew into a 3-piece, then into a 7-piece monstrosity. That all collapsed.
I remember those days, the 7 days, 7 members, and the 7 members stuff.
Yeah. And then when it came time to rebuild, he reached out to me and said, hey, look, can we get a hand rebuilding this project? And I've been a part of that ever since. That's probably since been about 2018 or so. So I've been juggling both bands probably the last, 5 years or so? Yeah.
Jeez.
And how do you find that? Like, is it just kind of whoever tees anything up first? Is it one of them is the obvious priority, or and the other one's kind of like the secondary? Is it just been fortunate that the schedules haven't really clashed so far? Like, how do you find juggling those two?
Oh, I think some of the boys might say, "Oh, we're the priority band" or whatever. But look, honestly,
Look, I don't want you to get in trouble with anybody, so you know.
Hell with them. Look, the truth is, they've been pretty supportive both ways.
That's
and
good.
there hasn't really been a lot of times that they've clashed. There's definitely been occasions where there's been double bookings. There's occasionally been festivals where both bands will be on the same bill, one after another. I think there was one in Canberra a couple of years ago where I finished up a NOVEAUX set on one stage, then the second the song finished, dropped everything, ran to the other stage, picked up my other bass, started playing. So it was probably like, an hour and a half straight. Definitely feeling
how the
knackered
fingers
up.
after that? How the fingies, man?
Oh, the fingers, the back, the hips, the neck.
Yeah, I was gonna say the way you go off on stage, man, that would have been. I
Look,
I wouldn't have. I don't think I'd have been able to do it.
I do. Another thing, talking about growing up in new metal era back in the day, like obviously one of the most defining moments was I think a friend brought me over in high school and showed me Slipknot's Disaster Pieces album.
Yeah.
Like not Disaster Pieces DVD.
Yeah.
And just seeing those guys killing themselves on stage every night just for the sake of performance. So that's kind of what I get inspired from that. Like, look, you got to go absolutely ham on stage for those 30, 40, 50 minutes, put on a show. You can rest later.
Yeah, it's you've always got recovery time. It's only an hour.
And I mean, look, you're a dude that keeps yourself in pretty good shape too. So I would imagine that if anyone's body is going to be able to handle it, it's probably someone like yourself. So,
in saying that, getting older and it's getting harder.
lots of shrugs in the gym. Lots of shrugs in the gym, man. Got to build up these bad boys.
I went to a fucking local show. I was sore for 3 days. I only fucking stood around.
But I will say with the between both bands, especially this year, that obviously after 2 years of COVID, nothing really happening, and now it's just exploding with shows. Now, I'm finding that we are getting not necessarily shows that clash, but one after another, but will be in different parts, different locations. I'm finding those distances are starting to grow a bit more. I mean, since the start of the year, there'd be times where I'd finish work on a Friday, drive to Melbourne to play a show on a Saturday, and then fly into Canberra to play a show on Sunday. And even just the other week, just before flying off to Germany to play Wacken, I was playing a festival in Brisbane with NOVEAUX. So going from Sydney to Brisbane to then flying out to Germany and then coming back, it's exhausting, but it's rewarding.
Well, I mean, that's it. That's the rock star schedule, right?
Well, you know what? I like sleep when I can get it.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man.
That's what planes are for, man. That's what planes are for.
It was absolutely awesome to see you guys in Brisbane the other week. I was at that show, as you know. It was so good to see all of you guys like smiling faces and just you getting back in and doing the thing, because even if Barnsey did mistakenly say, "How you doing, Sydney?"
I didn't notice that.
He did. He did. He did. I've got it on tape somewhere. I'll have to clip it and send it to you.
Oh, you're gonna have to put it on talk music.
But yeah, that was amazing. You guys absolutely smashed it, especially for I think NOVEAUX's first time playing in Brisbane. So, did you guys I mean, people seem to dig it. Did you get many people sort of giving a good feedback on the day?
Oh, look, there was a lot of people who were approaching us afterwards, and even people on the barricades who were just like throwing down. Mostly first time in a new city.
Yeah.
We're a little apprehensive to be like, well, look, we're not established here.
Yep.
What's it all going to be like? But no, it was all very positive. People seem to enjoy it. This whole mix of like, low tuned grooves and electronic synth cyberpunk stuff. It just seemed to hit a nerve, and especially being with other bands on the bill, like I think there was Witch Grinder and LR70. So it was kind of on trend. So people seem to enjoy that, and I'm hoping that I'm back there sooner than
Yeah,
later.
nice. I'm digging the
Awesome,
Nunavut
man.
look. Digging the Nunavut look.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
those shirts are really
I
cool.
love it. I love it.
cheers. Well, Bunsy's been very open that I'm allowed to have a bit more of involvement in both the musical but also the visual side as well.
Yeah.
So, taking care of some of the rebranding. So my day job, I'm a graphic designer and videographer.
Nice.
So I've been doing a lot of work for the graphics, the merchandise, the logo, the branding, the uniforms, the visuals. So as well as taking care of the visual side, I mean the audio side, but I'm also taking care of the visual side as well. So it's kind of like almost like a big passion project that I get to work on.
That really does help. I'll just say we got Zach in the chat there said Arbitrary Method was sick, and he's giving you a shout out. He said called you one of the best designers ever. So
Thank you, boy. Oh,
Yeah.
love you, man. Thank
much love there
Nice
from
one,
Zach. Now you mentioned there a moment ago, and obviously we give it a shout at the beginning as well. Lycanthrope just won the Vulcan Battle of the Bands or whatever it was called for to represent Australia and New Zealand at Vulcan Open Air. Tell us about that whole thing, man. Going through the different stages and going into that, how the journey was, the travel, how it was to perform on that stage in front of so many people. Yeah,
All
spill the
right.
beans, man. Spill the beans. We want it. We want the exclusive details.
Right, comfy boys. So we noticed that this year the Vulcan Open Air Medal Battle. This was going to be the first time that Australia was in the global medal battle. So we went through the state heat, which admittedly, even though we're a Sydney band, we ended up doing the Canberra one just due to double booking. We ended up winning that. And then a few months later, we ended up doing the national grand final in Melbourne. So that was between the best bands in Australia and New Zealand. Taking into consideration, this was 2022, but also I think it was 2020 or 2019. These were the bands who were finalists but didn't get to play the final.
Right. Okay.
Massive talent, and we end up taking it out as the winners for the Australia-New Zealand finals. So then I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks later, we're on a plane flying over to Hamburg, Germany.
All right, just hold on a second before we get into the plane flying over to Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The moment that you got the email or you got the phone call or whatever correspondence came through, were you with the boys? Were you on your own? Like what was that moment like? What was that moment of recognition like? That when you got it?
We unofficially, quote unquote, were told on the night after everything was packing up, after it was all finished. We got pulled aside and said, "Keep this quiet, but congratulations, you're off to Vulcan." And
nice.
I'd have cried.
Was obviously trying to keep it on the down low, just being like, appreciative, thank you, blah, blah, blah. I think we went outside and I think half of us just bawled our eyes out. We're just man.
Yep.
That's epic.
The dream is happening.
There was a lot of man tears, a lot of hugging. Like, I'm not going to lie.
That's beautiful,
it was one of those it was one of those moments where this is something throughout all your life you've heard of Vulcan, you've seen the videos, you've seen bands you idolize play, and now you're going to be a part of that. And obviously the first Australian New Zealand entrant as well. So regardless of what happens from here on out, we're a part of history.
You are.
And
absolutely. You guys absolutely are.
And then I think it was a week later, we end up officially announcing it, and the support from the Australian metal community, both people that we know and bands interstate, it's been incredible. I mean, we've got nothing but love for everybody who's reached out to us and said, congratulations, you boys deserve it. And also those who have seen us do the hard yards over the years. I mean, we've done, not trying to toot our own horn, but we've done things that even bands on major labels aren't doing. And we've done this just to try and build a legacy and, stamp our flag in the ground.
That's awesome, man.
That's
so fucking good. I saw the I remember when I saw the post about it, and I was like, I was just, holy shit. like that opportunity is, so many people would kill for that opportunity, and you guys, you've worked really, really hard over, like, as you said, like the last 10 or so years. 100% deserved. 100% deserved.
And just for those people that might not know what Varkin is out there, it is like the mecca of fucking heavy metal. All right, like if you're a metalhead, you know what Varkin is. It's a 4-day festival. Runs in where does it run again? It's Germany.
Yeah, Varkin, Germany.
Runs in Germany. So, mate, this thing, you play this, mate. You've and being the first Australian band to get over there and do it, you've cemented yourself in heavy metal history in this country.
Playing Varkin is the Everest of metal metal festivals, and as Parkway put it so eloquently, this is something that cannot be bought. This is something you need to earn. Mm-hmm. So we felt very privileged to be over there.
That's awesome. So yeah, you were talking about the flights. How'd the flights go? Did you have a lot of, was it like a long drive after you guys landed? What was the whole process like?
So we got split up admittedly. Some of the boys came earlier. They did a couple of days and they wanted to do a bit of a Euro trip. So they landed in London and then road tripped in an RV from London, I think, through France, Belgium, and then up through Germany. Yeah,
you're gonna do it right.
Yeah. So they had that opportunity to go see some sights. I had to fly straight in, so that was, I think, close to 24 hours straight, nearly straight. I think there was a brief stopover in Dubai. And then I crashed out in a hotel that night, completely jet lagged, absolutely exhausted. And then the boys picked me up the next day. We stopped in at a rehearsal studio near Hamburg called Pirate Co. Had a quick run through just to make sure everything was okay, because obviously we're panicking. We're an Australian band in a brand new country. We just want to make sure all our stuff works.
Yeah.
And from there, we got in the RV, and I think it was about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive through the Autobahn, and eventually ended up in the camping grounds of Varkin, ready to play the next day.
How quick did the RV go on the Autobahn?
Man, I gotta say, there's Audis and Mercedes that were passing us like we were standing still. I'm not gonna lie, that RV is not built for speed, it is built for comfort. So not a lot of aerodynamics or ground effects on that to make it go fast.
You went on the Autobahn, that's mad.
That's the important thing. Although you got to keep out of the way for some of those Audis and Mercedes going past. Man, they absolutely flying. It blows your mind.
Yeah, I'd got to say, I'd be a bit. I think I'd be packing it a little bit myself if I was driving on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big tank of a thing, so you felt protected while you were in it. But we stay out of their way.
That's good.
They have their lane to do their thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome, man. So, okay, we've made it in. We've pulled in. We've had rehearsal. We've gone through the Autobahn. We've taken the RV up to like 90 k's an hour, the fastest it can go while your Audis are passing you.
That's being generous, mate.
Well, they work in miles over there, so I don't want to.
True.
But yeah, so mate, what was it like? Sort of pulling. Did you stay in the RV in Varkin?
Yeah. So there is no, as far as I can tell, no hotels or anything within Varkin. It's farmland. So there's multiple camping grounds broken up around the perimeter of the festival. So we pulled into our one, which was where a majority of the other metal battle contestants from the other countries were staying in, as well as a bunch of others too. So we stay in the RV. Obviously it's farmland, no electricity, no Wi-Fi, none of these luxuries or anything like that. You're camping with everyone else, which I was already down for, and it just builds with the camaraderie of everyone else that you're with too. People are building up tents or like big gazebos and blasting nothing but like Iron Maiden 14, 16 hours a day.
Oh.
You've got people who don't speak your language who are throwing up horns. Everyone's like screaming Varkin and sculling beers and just having a good time and going around just seeing people from like Germany, Switzerland, Croatia, Philippines, you name it. It was just like a League of Nations over there. It was insane.
It's mad. And a League of Nations, but all for one thing.
All with a common goal.
Yep.
All with a common interest.
Yep, mate. Yeah.
So
Nice,
you don't
good.
even speak the language, and you're already brothers.
You speak the universal language of music,
That's it, man.
which is what's important.
That's the important thing. Yeah.
So you communicate with anyone, especially when you got these bad boys.
Exactly. and bumping into people from other countries and just like that. I think a lot of them were just stoked to have Australians there. Like, I don't know if they hear the accent and they're just like, yeah, kangaroos, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we seem to have a pretty good reputation overseas for the most part. So I'm not surprised you guys were welcomed pretty warmly with that. So were you guys in like just like the general campgrounds, or is there like a separate campgrounds area for people that are performing, or what was the setup?
Yep. So the definition was VIP 1. There was VIP 1, VIP 2. These were for a majority of the bands that were performing. There was specialty areas for some of the major bands, like, you know, your Slipknots, your Judas.
Yeah, understandable. They've probably got like a more private kind of space.
Yeah, but as for a band from Australia and an RV, no, we were in the VIP area. I think we were just down the road from, I think we're the Philippine band and the Croatian band, Orca and Krin. And they were camping just nearby us, so it was a good opportunity to get out and shake hands and say good day to them too.
That's cool. That's cool, man. So what day did you guys play on in the show? Was it like first day, or like when were you guys actually playing?
Yeah, so it was the first day. So typically Barkin goes for 3 days. So it'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The promoter and organizer has realized that because everyone's coming into camp and there's 100,000 plus people, they're arriving earlier in the week. So they've decided to extend the festival to be a 4-day festival. So now it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we performed on the Wednesday. So we were probably on, I think it was probably about 1, 2 in the afternoon.
Yep.
On what was referred to as the wet stage. Yeah. we went backstage. We went to our dressing room. We were in and amongst. It was almost like a cube farm of all the other bands that were performing.
Yep.
And there was just posters lined up of the lineup for every Varkin throughout its 30-year history. We're off, you know, having a few beers. I can't remember for the life of me what German beer was being supplied, and just getting in the mood. And then our van picked us up to take us to the stage to perform. And I think it was when it arrived, it just suddenly hit. I mean, we were at the time we were in a dream. We were just like, oh man. Actually, on a similar subject, Varkin, Germany, and being around Hamburg feels like Sydney. It feels like being in an Australian festival. So I guess that's probably why it didn't hit. I mean, we turned up to when I turned up to Hamburg, it felt similar to being in like Bryant or Turramurra or something like that. Being on the Autobahn felt like driving on the M1. And then when we turned up at Varkin...
What, with all those pretentious Mercedes and Audi drivers?
Yeah. I mean... and then when we turned up at Varkin, it was nearly 40 degrees, grass, dirt, bark chips, everything. It smelled like Australia. It smelled like an Australian festival.
That's like almost getting like a home ground advantage.
It felt like it. So it wasn't until that van came over to say, hey, look, we're taking you to the stage to perform. At the time, we were sort of in our comfort zone. We're like, oh, this feels like home. This is fantastic. As soon as that happened, we're like, oh, shit, it's on now.
And real.
Yeah, that's when the heart rate started beating
I would have been
the cold
sick.
sweats happened.
I would have been sick. I used to throw up before my shows at local shows when nobody was watching, mate. I would have fucking bathed my ass off. I would have bathed so hard.
Say was it 10 years of performing, I've never felt that nauseous before going on stage just due to nerves.
Yeah. Understandable, man. It's you don't know what size crowd you're gonna get. You just like I can understand why it would have felt like a very intimidating, daunting experience. But I think honestly, if there's anyone that was going to be up to the challenge, it was going to be you guys.
Yep, I think it was one of those like what's the term, nut up or shut up moments.
Fucking
It's like
oath,
this
man.
is
Absolutely.
your moment of truth. You gotta dig deep and you gotta.
What do you work for? What do you work for? Every time,
that's exactly it.
every show you've played up until this point has been for that moment, for a show like that.
Realizing those 20 minutes on stage, you've had to work 10 years to get that moment. And,
Absolutely.
It's okay. Now we're getting into it. You hopped out the van. You got it there. You're looking at those stairs.
So the Croatian band had just finished, and I think the Argentinian band were just playing, and we managed to go up the stairs and peek around the side and just see a sea of people watching this. Like, so there's people from every country just lined up all the way, probably out to the horizon or out to the, I guess, the beer tents or whatever. Thousands of people, couldn't really count their heads, and they're just throwing down. They're listening to bands that they've never seen or heard of before, and they are throwing down within an inch of their life. And just seeing that activity and seeing this band's from Argentina absolutely throwing down, I'm like, oh. that's when it all started happening. And then as soon as they finished, we've had to get our gear. I'm like, all right, go time, boys.
And when you guys get out there and hit that first note, did it just like the nerves kind of just like, Benny, you just like, right, just gotta do it, just gotta do the thing, and you just got up there and you went out there and just fucking like, we know we're good, we've earned this, let's just fucking smash it. And you went out there and just put on like the best show you possibly could.
That's exactly it. I mean, when we were loading our gear on, I mean, it was a 2-stage setup, so similar to any other festival. So the other band was playing while we were loading on, just to try and, I guess, take it all in. As soon as I plugged all my things in, I just went to the front of the stage and was just like eyeballing all the crowd. I'm just like trying to absorb as much as I can. Like, holy hell! Like,
give me your energy.
We earned this. I mean, this is a moment you got to sink it in. Then, as soon as Jason hit the backing track for us to start, and Dan's absolutely pumped on adrenaline, screaming, "We travelled 70 hours to play for you. It's an honour to be in your country," and just like getting this wave of adrenaline, and like, holy hell, let's get it on. And as soon as that first note hit, all those nerves went away, and you're just in a flurry of testosterone and energy and nervous energy, just throwing down as hard as you can. I mean, we were cooking on that stage, and I was dumb enough to be wearing a long sleeve shirt, so I felt like a rotisserie chicken being on stage, man. I'm not gonna lie.
And you, like, the way you go crazy carrying those 6-string basses too, like.
Yeah, thankfully for this one, I was using one of those new Ibanez EHB basses, the headless ones. So that managed to be a bit lighter on the shoulders. I mean, as you possibly know, that big 7-string one that I used to use in the past, that was a lead weight. So this thankfully was a little bit less physically demanding. But I got to say, those German crowds are incredible. Like, from the very first note, they were opening up pits, throwing down, banging their heads. I mean, because it was so dusty, people are throwing circle pits, and there's a dust tornado just enveloping the stage in front of us. And they're chanting, screaming. I think a couple of times they did like Viking chants, so you could just hear, "Oi, oi, oi." And plus, we end up realizing that the whole event was being live streamed as well. So we quickly put the feelers out. And we sent a message on our Facebook, our Instagrams, and say, "Look, we're going live in a couple of minutes. Tune in." We saw the footage afterwards. I think there was 2,000 or 3,000 people watching us, including a lot of friends and family from home.
Beautiful.
And watching it back afterwards was just mind blowing. Probably. Go on.
I was just gonna say, watching it back, was it like almost like that's not us? Like, did it feel almost like you were just out of body experience? Like you couldn't. it was just so much adrenaline going through your body that you couldn't remember the moment of it.
Absolutely. And one issue that I tend to have when it comes to watching video is those 30, 40 minutes that you're on stage, I feel like I'm giving everything, like I'm throwing down to the point of passing out. And then I look at video footage afterwards and like, it's like I'm not doing much at all. Like, trust me, I'm going hard, trust me. But no, it was one of those moments where it was over in a flash, it was a blur, and then when you watch it afterwards, you're just like, holy crap, that happened. And just seeing video footage of the crowds amassing. And I think the icing on the cake at the very end, once we've all finished, we're jumping over the stage, we're giving people hugs and whatnot. And as we're packing up, there's hundreds of Germans chanting, "Lycanthrope, lycanthrope, lycanthrope."
That is heavy.
That's it.
Never stepped foot in this country, seen these people for the first time, and they're chanting our names, wanting more. I mean, I can't ask for more.
You made it. That's it. You made it. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. You can forever say, like, we're big in Germany.
I could.
Like,
Wow. Wow.
And then from there on, we went backstage. Obviously, all broke down.
Yeah.
in tears, just trying to, I guess, soak up what had just happened.
It'd be overwhelming. Like,
it was.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. It was incredible. And
What happens when
it's one of those-
what happens when a bunch of blokes literally your dream comes true? What else are you gonna do except for ball?
Yep.
You got to take a moment to sink it in, and then just say, "Well, what's next?"
That's it. That's it. You can't stop now. Far out. You can't. Now you've got your foot on the throat. Don't take it off.
I'd be very, very curious to see as well what sort of impact this has on things like your Spotify plays and where, if that kind of starts spreading a bit more and kind of boosts your numbers on that front.
Only time will tell. I mean, I've heard
Yeah.
things have been increasing, and views and plays seem to be exploding so far. But
yeah, I mean, well, that's it. Like, it was only was less than a week ago, thereabouts, or a little over a week ago that you played it. So, these things obviously take time to filter through in terms of numbers, but it's awesome that it already seems to be, showing early signs of having an impact on that as well. Because, like, as we all know, that's unfortunately we're all kind of we're slaves to that algorithm, and it'd be awesome that it's not the kind of thing, like you said, that you're ever going to kind of make your money back on, but if it can boost your profile like that and generate a bit more in the way of like royalties and money
Merch
from you guys on that
sales as well.
front, it helps move the band towards being a little more self-sustaining and enables you guys to do that. So
definitely, when it comes to merch sales and streams and anything of that sort, like obviously our streaming numbers have started to blow up. Our social medias are starting to blow up as well. We're getting DMs from all over the country, people who were attending. I mean, people all over Europe who were attending, just saying, "Guys, this is the first time I've seen you. I've blown away. I'm a fan for life.
That's
What have
awesome.
you got?" But as you were saying, like obviously it's a financial investment. Playing in a band, let's not lie about it. But the important thing, and the reason why we all do it, is because we love it and we want to make an impact. And
you guys absolutely did.
certainly did that.
You
Yeah.
nailed that shit.
Absolutely did.
What you just spoke about there is like I aspired to it when I was trying in the band stuff. You know what I mean? Like it takes time, and you guys are just proof in the pudding that if you don't give up and you don't quit and you keep trying to master your craft, you will get noticed eventually.
Definitely. And look, we can definitely say that it's been a slog. I mean, we've had the peaks and valleys of our career. Like, there's been times where we'll tour New Zealand and then there'll be nothing. We'll tour Japan, we'll tour Australia, we'll support our heroes, and then you can't get an opener at a 20-minute opener at local. So definitely anyone who's gone through those times of questioning whether it's worthwhile sticking it out, it does get better. do not kid yourself. That's just going to be a constant upward trajectory. Sometimes there are peaks and valleys to this, but if you have self-belief and you have the conviction to stick it out, hold on, because good things come.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man. And just more proof that Australian bands can make that impact. And with the world opening up again, it's the perfect opportunity to try and make those moves, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what have you? Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was about to say, being the first Australian band to play the Wacken Metal Battle as well, and obviously making a bit of an impact on the scene while we were over there. When we were in the artist village afterwards, hanging out with all the other bands, it got to the point where we had dudes from Croatia, the Netherlands, Switzerland, the Philippines, all over. I think there was even an American band from like San Jose, and they were just like, "Hey, we want to go hang with the Australians." Like they just think we just think we're a good time. So that's definitely a thing for being an Australian band. We do have a reputation over there. Obviously, the big dogs like your Parkways, your Diastasis Murders, and whatnot. We have a bit of a reputation globally. So yeah, do what you can, get over there, make some international friends.
I do honestly think Australian metal bands are some of the hardest working in the world.
I think you have to be.
With the limitations that we have, just the numbers in population, for a band to break it big, especially internationally, I think I'll own this. I'll fucking die on that hill. Australian metal bands are the hardest working in the world.
We have to be resilient. I mean, as you guys know yourself, if we're doing an East Coast or an Australian tour, it's 12, 14, 16-hour drive minimum just between major cities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Did you guys happen to? I mean, I know they were mainly separate, but did you guys happen to run into any bigger artists while you were over there, just in passing, or were they mainly corralled separate to you guys?
So there were bands that were coming in and out constantly over those 4 days. I've been seeing a lot of selfies from the other boys, just like, "Hey, check this out, see who I met." Obviously, meeting a lot of. I think there was 150 bands on the bill total, so a lot of the time you were meeting bands that you didn't particularly know. In saying that, I was seeing a lot of selfies. I think they had a meeting with the boys from S01 dying at one point. There's photos of Dan and Jace with Tim Lambesis, flexing their biceps and seeing who has the biggest, as you know. But it was, I think there was times where we were having interviews with press later, and the Butcher Babies were walking past and they were throwing horns. I'm like, yes. It was just cool to see people in passing. You'd be seeing the event organisers for Wacken, and then you'd just be seeing like a high-profile band, like I think the guys from Hypocrisy were having dinner next to us one of the nights as well. So, look, it just ends up being this nice community of metalheads, both established and lesser so. All much like with the camping grounds, with a common goal or a common interest of heavy music and community.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Like, so again, I can't give you guys enough congratulations for that. You guys 100% earned it. You guys deserved it. I'm so glad that you guys were the ones that were able to represent Australia over there for this. Hopefully next year they run the competition again. I'd love to see, and hopefully you guys get asked back to play at future ones without needing to go through the competition.
Yeah,
I think
hopefully you just get invited.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be awesome to see, and hopefully that happens for you guys.
But just before we go any further, do we want to ask anyone in the chat? If anyone in the chat wants to maybe quickly ask a question, I can see you all sitting there quietly. I can see everyone sitting in that chat. So if anyone wants to ask any questions about Wacken or anything like that, please. Yeah.
Now's the time to jump in with that.
And Zachy boy, no, I'm never getting back into it. I went to a show a couple of weeks ago. It was a heavy metal show, and I had 0% interest in getting back into it. Sorry, dude.
Okay.
So while we're seeing if anyone else has any other questions,
I'll do a feature or something like that. But no.
So while we're seeing if anyone's got any other questions for you there, like what's next for Lycanthrope and NOVEAUX? What have you guys got? What do you got coming up for those that you can tell us about?
Show-wise, I have to keep quiet for both, but
okay.
Please keep an eye on our socials over these next few months.
So that's
'cause you're gonna be
NOVEAUX and
impressed.
LYCANTHROPE.
Yes, for both. As far as music, NOVEAUX, we're in the process of just releasing a remix EP of our 2020 EP Eden. That was a mouthful. We reached out to a couple of friends during the lockdowns and said, "Hey, look, we've got all the stems. Do you want to do some remixes?" So we've got some stuff from Imperative Reaction, Water and Bridges, Cheap Coffins, New Tech. Plus, we also have a brand new single coming out in summer this year. So keep an eye out for that.
Ooh, right,
As
lovely.
for Lycanthrope, we've been playing our upcoming single at shows. We should have a new single and potentially a new EP out by summer this year as well. So the next few months are going to be busy, so keep an eye out.
Yeah, man. You've been
Okay.
really working your ass off.
Well, you have to, man, especially now. The time is now.
Definitely. So, idle hands are the devil's plaything. So you got to keep busy. You got to be making things, and you just got to keep on pushing as well.
Yeah, that's a big
That's
one.
awesome, man.
Determination.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, could not be more happy for you with what you've achieved with the
Thanks,
band.
man.
So
Appreciate it.
it's
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Let's
Shall we go on
Let's do
to the fuck off files?
Okay, you
Please,
ready, man?
let's
You ready?
do it.
My
He's
personal
been waiting to
favorite.
let loose on this. Let's do it.
We got the cutaway.
Fuck, cutaway's done.
Fantastic.
It's
Awesome.
oh god, I went to
So-
the wrong one.
Oh no! What? You did the right one.
There we did. No.
Oh, the wrong
screen.
Wrong screen. Oh no!
Look at those handsome boys in that cutaway.
Oh, awesome.
All right. So, for those who don't know, for those who may be watching us for the first time, maybe don't know what the fuck off files is, we'll give you guys the rundown. So, basically, the fuck off files is we take our esteemed guest and we say to them, if you could just Thanos 3 things out of the music business or music industry from any element of it, what would they be and why? So, that's the general premise. What have you got for us, STOJA?
Oh man, how much time have you got?
As much time as you need, baby.
All right, no, I'll be good. All right, first one, and I'm gonna say this as a fellow bassist as well.
100%.
Bands that are playing, established bands or upcoming bands that play with fake bass or no bass.
Okay. So
Do
they've
like-
just got a backing track.
They either do it with a backing track, which is just MIDI, or
Yeah.
they just do no bass at all. They're like, oh, we're down tuned low enough. We're an F, so we don't.
I've
need
been
bass.
seeing a lot of that lately, especially
Okay.
like the Sydney metal scene is pretty rife for it at the moment.
I mean, look, personally, if you see a band, like, not just visually, I mean, you're getting rid of like a quarter of your members on stage. I mean, you're not going to put the drums in the backing, you're not going to put vocals in backing, you're not going to put the guitars in the backing. So why the hell are you going to put bass, which is such an important instrument, especially for metal, as a MIDI track in the backing, and have that token, dingwall through a dark glass sound that everyone's doing at the moment. Look, get a bass player. It's so important. It's so important to the metal sound. Yeah, I just don't
Okay.
understand why a lot of bands are doing it at the moment. It
Hey,
just doesn't.
bands are rolling
you-
around, not taking amps on stage at the moment. I don't know what's going on. Up is down, down is up. The whole world's gone crazy.
So do you think it could? Do you think
Mudvayne
that could
Mega
be
says
an
no.
element? Do you think that could be an element of just bass players generally being hard to find, like good bass players being hard to find? Because I know that there's. I mean, you would know as well as I do how many people out there are like, yeah, I can play bass, but they. And look, and I've done this myself. Like when I first started playing bass, I had completely the wrong mentality about it. I was the typical like failed guitarist bass player when I first started playing bass, right?
Yep.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap and having the wrong thing. And I think it's so important to have the right mental approach to the instrument. And a lot of people don't get that. Do you think though that this trend of not having bass players could be a factor of something like that, where good bass players are just really hard to find, and with so many metal bands wanting to push into more technical spaces, that they just consider it easier to just go, all right, we're playing to a click anyway. We can't find anyone that's good enough or that we're satisfied with, so we'll just do this. Do you think that's part of it, or is it just more a case of we just can't be fucked?
I think a bit of both. I mean, definitely, and it does sound like tooting our own horn, but talented bass players can occasionally be hard to come by. I mean, you've all seen the guitar player who just fills in on bass. But I think at some points it's almost like a lack of respect for the instrument. I mean, there's guitarists who just like, well, bass is just, guitar but lower. So why would I double up? I mean, if you have a good bassist, which can be the foundation of a band, but also put those elements in to pop out of the mix. I mean, could you imagine listening to Mudvayne or Korn or Carnival or Ginger without
not put
a
those
bassist
thoughts in my head? I
Exactly.
do not want that. I do not want a world without Fieldy.
Exactly. Exactly. Could you imagine if Fieldy was a backing track? I mean, I know Fieldy unfortunately isn't playing at the moment.
No.
I think he's been covered by the bassist from Suicidal Tendencies. I think.
Sorry. Just Zach, behave yourself, please. we don't need to go there. We don't need to bring up he who shall not be named.
I can't see what he's saying. So
don't worry. You don't need to worry. And yes. Hi, Craven. Hi, Megan. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in
and posting on the chat too. Thank you.
But yeah, no. Look, I've noticed that what you mentioned there about that having like either backing track bass or no bass is being a bit more common. I have also seen bands doing it with rhythm guitar as well. So they'll have they'll only have the one guitarist, but for live performances, they will have a guitar backing track to adding that extra layer in there, so that way when they're doing solos, they're not missing that layer of guitar in there as well. And I agree, but this is whether I agree or not doesn't matter. This is your fuck off files. So okay, but that's awesome. That's awesome. It's all very valid.
If you had a member that's pulled a sickie or you're missing.
Yeah, that's absolutely different. Yeah. That's absolutely different. I agree, but yeah, no, I think as like a permanent thing, definitely seems weird to me.
Yeah, definitely recently seen a very prominent Australian metalcore band, now electronic band, perform at the Enmore and put $100,000 into their lighting show, but didn't have a bassist. I mean, come on, guys. What are you skimping out on?
I'll play it. I would have played it for $50,000. Exactly. Just saying, like
the weird thing. Okay, so I'll bring up the show I went to again, but I didn't see 1 AM. It seems like all the money is going into trying to do it not try to do it as easy as possible, but trying to get the most out of what you can possibly do as far as like MIDIs and MIDI ports and getting the right sound that you want to get to try and make it different. Because there's only so far an amp can take you. And what are you going to do? When you think about it, you're either going to spend all this money on pedals to get the sound that you want through your amp, or you can buy a MIDI file, like do it through the computer. The only problem was only one band didn't have stuff ups at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like the computer.
If you're gonna use that digital rig like that, you got to make sure it's working. Yeah. You got to make sure it's all working.
If you're playing live, I mean, it's great that if it sounds exactly like the album, but
I don't want that.
You want to have those minor imperfections. You want to know someone's physically up there performing and playing.
I love it when they do it a little bit different too. When you think the chorus is just going to, like, the go into the chorus is going to, they play it like a little bit longer, or the singer just builds up the crowd before the breakdown just takes that little bit longer and just builds that.
That.
Just the and the unfortunate thing is that when you end up playing with those MIDI files and stuff like that, most of the time it's on a controlled track, so you play into a backing track, and as you play, your stuff changes. Your effects come in, your effects come out. So unless you actually pre-think about it and go, okay, we're going to make this bit longer. Because I don't know about you guys, but there were some times where, the band's up there and you just go, oh, no, okay, we're just going to drag this out a bit. And just everyone's vibing on the same level. And yeah, it was...
Some of those improvised ad-libbed moments.
Yeah,
those
definitely.
special moments. Yeah.
Definitely. It becomes a bit harder when you're doing that. But okay, so yep, no, that's 100% fair. What have you got for your second one?
Second one. There's bands that put a lot of love, time, energy into the music, and then skimp out in the visuals.
What do you mean? Okay, so what do you mean by visuals? Give me a bit more info on that. You mean
so when it comes to they might be amazing musicians, amazing songwriters, amazing performances. But when it comes time to their album art, their merchandise, their lyric videos, things like that, they don't take as much passion and care about that as well. I mean, I've seen a bit of a trend where bands will create amazing pieces of work, and then their album art will just be like some texture off some stock image website, with their name plonked in the corner in a black bar, and then their merchandise, rather than being something that would either look clean or beautiful or something that you aspire to wear, it might just be the band's name in like Times New Roman in orange, just chucked on the front, and they're charging $60 for it. Mm-hmm. If you're putting as much love into the audio side of being in a band, you gotta put love into the visuals as well. Mm-hmm. You're listening with your eyes. The visuals are probably like 2/3 of what being in a band is. Give it the love it deserves. I mean, I don't want to see, like, think about
well, you go to a show to watch it, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And then like the merchandise is something that gets represented. Mm-hmm. The album artwork is what you'll see. I mean, one thing I'm missing, like physical product that you can hold in your hands. Like, remember some of those iconic albums that you used to buy, and they used to have beautiful artworks, iconic branding that runs through.
Mm-hmm.
Booklets that you could open up, something that you could absorb.
Yeah. We 100%. We did.
What was it? Off the top of my head,
mate, the Follow the Leader, Follow the Leader cup, mate. The Follow the Leader album cover was the best piece of artwork ever made. That thing opened up to about that. How big was it?
Yeah.
Had the full artwork. Oh man, it was multiple band. It was beautiful.
Yeah. The physical album art.
Was it Meteora album? That the entire story of the artwork in that band was creating a piece of artwork. They had this, was it like 20, 30 foot canvas that they went to town on, and that ended up, the creative process of that ended up being the artwork for the album. But I just miss that. There's certain bands that just don't have the care factor to the visuals, and I really think they're selling themselves short with that.
Yeah. Look, I 100% agree. I've experienced this a lot with not so much bands, but with when I've spoken to certain people about potentially starting musical projects, where they've been, even not just even in the production side of it there, but even in terms of going on stage, where they're like, you see there's so many bands that they've got this amazing music, but when it comes to going on stage, they'll literally just walk on stage in whatever clothes they've been wearing all day.
Yeah, presentation.
Like they don't see, and look, for some bands that works. Like for something like Skunkbone, for example, like where it's a very, the grunge thing, it's very casual. Like what we wear is very sort of, it's a product of what we wore when we grew up, and we kind of like, all right, we kind of dress kind of grungy anyway, so it works in that regard, right? And grunge is meant to be not sort of as hung up on the visual side anyway, so we just, it's meant to be a bit dingy and whatever. But I mean, I've even seen fucking Slayer do it. Like, I think it's even not just at a concert, but like the Big Four DVD, the Big Four concert DVD. You're seeing all this backstage stuff. And Tom Araya just chilling there in this red T-shirt or whatever, because it just happens to be the T-shirt that he grabbed out of the drawer that day. And he just walks out on stage in, his jeans in this red T-shirt. I'm like, you're in Slayer. Like, there was nothing special about the thing. It was but like in terms of the stage presentation, it's a bit of an up and down thing, because I get it. But some people want the music to speak for itself and be, be a thing. And I guess in this day and age where streaming is so prevalent, the physical copy, I mean, even going from vinyls to CDs was a downgrade on a lot of stuff, because the vinyls are huge. You can put so much detail in this artwork, and when you shrink it down to like a quarter of the size or less for the CD thing, it's you lose it. You lost a lot of that, and it's happening over again with streaming, taking it away almost completely, because now you don't even have a booklet. You just have, you know, a 10 by 10 image
If you're
of
willing to scroll down
the
far
artwork.
enough, you can get an about.
Yeah. So yeah, but it does hurt it. It 100% hurts it. We've got a few chats on this one here as well. Zach's jumping in saying, "Yep, that designer brain kicking in." You know, he's also mentioned.
I can be biased about.
He's also mentioned Red B, who's you know, I think they're a great example of a band that, you know, with their presentation on stage, again, they're just very authentic people, and they come across with that, and they look that way. It works for them, but on the design front, their aura 100% sells it, and the design of their videos and everything is just so on point.
Yep.
Yeah, their videos, their covers, their album covers, their merchandise.
Exactly, and they're a band that is like almost the definition of the music could speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their music is so good that they could get away with slacking on some of that, I feel. Not to too far of a degree, but they absolutely could get away with slacking on it a bit, but they don't. They know that the top tier music needs top tier visuals to go along with it. Which is awesome. And we've also got Craven in there. Got Craven in there saying, wholeheartedly agree, as a fan, I want to look cool supporting tunes, you know. So definitely, like, you want to you're not going to sell that shitty T-shirt that you mentioned before, where it's just the band's name in Times New Roman. You know, you want to have the logo on it. You want to have a nice design on the T-shirt.
Yeah,
that's
if
an
you
option.
See a band that is making god tier music, and you want to pay $50 to rep their merchandise, and it looks like something that you got at the op shop.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah,
well,
you don't want it to look like you got it. You know what?
They look fantastic.
Yeah. You don't want the band T-shirt to look like you went down to like the store and got one made because you couldn't afford to buy one properly.
Yeah.
You know, you want it to represent really well. So that's a really, really good point.
You've got to be a whole package now. The music, unfortunately, at the end of the day, now in this day and age, the music doesn't speak like, unless you're like God tier. Like you said, music's only 2/3 of it, man, and that's as simple as that. Like.
Yeah, they need to have the other elements.
You gotta fucking nail it, because sometimes you may not be the best band in the world, but if you can produce good videos and good content, that will leg you up in maybe the music not being so good. So it's worthwhile branching out and really trying to not just be a band, but be entertainers. That's where you got to step it up. Like that's where every band should aspire to be an entertainer, not just a band.
And you know what? I guarantee you that a lot of those bands that are very, very talented musically but don't put that effort into the other side of it are they're the first to complain that they don't get opportunities, or that they don't get the traction that other bands do that they don't consider to be as good as them.
Yep. You gotta take the visuals into account. Absolutely.
All right. What's number 3?
Number 3, and I think this is a relatively new one because I've only just heard about this over the last few weeks.
Okay.
There's a trend, and I think Alpha Wolf were the first to bring it to attention, where venues are taking 20% cuts of the merchandising profits from touring bands.
I did see something about this.
Now, I don't know which venues are doing these, or why they're doing them, or how long this has been going on for, but hearing bands that are struggling already after 2 years of nothing, and then a venue off the top just wants to take a fifth. I mean,
I can tell you right now, if any of my bands ever play a venue and the venue wants to take a cut of merch sales, we will not be selling merch that night.
No, I'll put my merch back in the fucking car.
I do not give a fuck. I'll be like, I'll say, you want to see us? Come and see us in the car park afterwards. And I'm not. If a venue wants to do that, I'm not buying any drinks. I'm playing and I'm fucking off, because that is some bullshit. I would And look,
That's a quick way to get no
maybe
bands
sometimes
back
you
to
don't
the
have.
venue.
Sometimes you don't have any choice. Sometimes it's a bit harder than that. But yeah, oh man, that's some bullshit right
That's
there.
when
this
That's
is a
when I'll be
recent
turning.
thing,
That's
'cause
when I'll be turning around and going, okay, I want 20% of the drink sales of the night because I played here. You get a fifth, I'll get a fifth chant. If I were, what would you have?
If they're spending 10 grand at the bar and you're the draw card which has brought them to the bar, you should get a cut of that by that logic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
Well,
I'm
that's
not
what used to happen.
How long this has been a thing for, and I'm not sure of the circumstances around it. But just hearing straight up that there's, bands trying to hit the road, trying to make a name for themselves, and trying to get by purely on merchandise sales, and venues want to take a cut of that. I mean, we've personally had instances in the past where we've done Australian or Japanese tours, and the staff have taken a 10% cut because they were the ones who were selling it. It was actually staff who were doing it.
That's different.
I can live with that.
That's reasonable. If they're the ones, if they've got a staff member there
Yeah, they can
handling the
take
merch sale, that's 100% reasonable.
That's one thing I don't have to worry about.
But I'm not sure of the details and the background. But just on paper, a venue taking 20% of your merch sales because you just happen to play there.
It really doesn't look
I just
good.
want to put this out there to the chat. If anyone out there has actually any proof of this, can you please send it to me, and I will name and shame any one of these fucking venues. And I'm being dead serious. If any venue does that, I will name and shame them. I ain't fucking playing anyway.
Damn right.
I ain't asking for no fucking shows. I will name and shame.
Damn right. That's horrid. I cannot.
That's fucking disgusting.
Yeah. I really hope that's not something that catches on, because
I'm hoping
if it does,
it's a minority. But
a lot of bands are gonna really get screwed out of a lot of money.
That's disgusting.
Apparently, okay.
Luna Park.
Craven's just popped in. Apparently, Luna Park does it.
Luna Park does it.
Apparently, Luna Park does it. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. If we talk about the big top, though.
No, I'm not talking about big top. I'm talking about.
If we're talking about big top, that I mean, they're a big event. That's a bigger venue.
I understand.
I can see, but yeah, I mean, but yeah, it definitely seems like
local venues that do that. Tell me if there's
Yeah.
any local fucking like your local pub that puts on bands. If you're in a band and you got any paperwork
you've experienced
saying
it.
that they get a 10%
send
cut
it through.
or 20% cut, send it through.
Send it through to the page. Send us a message on Facebook, or just at 2dudestalkmusic@gmail.com. Send it through. We'll absolutely put that out there, because that's some bullshit. That's bullshit. Daddy Frank,
Melbourne.
a few of the fair bars in Melbourne do small.
Can you, man,
No.
Daddy Frank?
Yeah, send us through.
Send us through, man. Being dead serious. I'm being dead serious. You send that through. Send me through any venue. Send us through any venue.
Yeah, we'll 100% do that, because
I
that's.
wouldn't let Raph do it because he's got to try and get shows with bands. But I don't need any shows. I'll go ham.
Yeah, we'll dig into it, and we'll try and even try and contact them and go, hey, can you guys justify this for us? Can you guys justify why this happens? So, but no, I agree. That's something I really don't want that to catch on and become more common. It's all it's doing is hurting bands that can't really afford it. So, wow, that's a really, really thorough, really well thought out entries there, mate.
Was really, really good one.
That's good.
I've got more if you got time, but we'll free for now.
Well, what do you reckon? What do you reckon? Should we extend it? Should we extend it? A special.
We'll play nice for now.
All right. Well, you know what? This just means that we'll have to get you back on when we do like another episode about
100%.
Lycanthrope or NOVEAUX, and you can just add to the.
Yeah, thanks, Daddy Frank. I'll speak to you Wednesday.
Please do.
All right. We time for the rant. I've got a bit of a one this week. It's not too long, but I got something I want to talk about. So, shall we? Do we have a cutaway for the rant? So I can never remember.
I do.
We do. It's time for the rants.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Oh, look at those boys.
So I went this past weekend to see. I saw the Who, not the WHO, the HU, the Who, the Mongolian band that you probably have heard about, that basically does metal but with a lot of Mongolian traditional instruments, but lots of heavy metal themes.
Too.
Yep. The live show. First off, this is not about the band or the show at all. The show, that was incredible. They did an amazing job. You know, they were so enthusiastic to be there. They really don't speak much English, but they really, really tried hard. with what little they had, which was awesome. The show was incredible. The sound was really, really good. But the venue was not big enough for the number of people that they had sold tickets for. I am certain that they oversold. Because when I got there, the line was hundreds of meters long. And I took one look at the line and one look at the venue and immediately knew that there was no way all those people were going to fit inside that venue. No way in hell. When I got in there, I was 100% right. It was packed like this, front to back, side to side. Like, you couldn't get to the bar. Once you were in your spot, that's like where you were. And
Oh, they just oversold, or
looking at the numbers, that's the only thing I can think, because the venue, look, I know concerts get packed, but this was something else. This was beyond what I've normally experienced. And after about 2/3 of the way through the show, I was like, I can't fucking handle this anymore. This is too much. It was getting too hot. I couldn't breathe with my mask on. It was too much. So I went outside. Now, fortunately, this particular venue has glass doors all down one side, so you could still see and you could still hear reasonably well through what was coming out. But it's not like it's not like that area, I don't feel, was meant for viewing the show, right? There was a lot of people outside. Watching through that. And like the venue, I don't know if someone put the wrong number of tickets available and they only realized after they'd already sold too many, or what happened. But all I gotta say is they're lucky that there wasn't an emergency situation.
Do you think that this might just be a fact that you haven't been in a crowd situation like that in probably like 2.5, 3 years?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I remember going to some shows in Sydney, man, and they were sardines. Like, especially some at the Manning Bar. The Manning Bar was...
Yeah. No. But thing is...
Like, Manning Bar shows, man...
While Manning Bar does get crowded, and I've been to a bunch of stuff at Manning Bar, dude, I get it. I've been to a bunch of stuff at Manning Bar, but they have their balcony area. They'll open the doors up to that.
That's true.
So that, it's there. Like, this was... No, this was not designed for that. There was if there'd been an emergency in there, people 100% would have got trampled, potentially, like, seriously injured, or worse.
Lucky no one no one should ever do that.
It was, and yeah, again, like, I don't know exactly how it ended up happening the way it did, but, look, and I get it, people are keen, venues are keen to get people back in, bands are keen to get back in front of people, but they've got to fucking sort this shit out, because...
If people can't get to the bar, you're not fucking making that extra dollars, mate.
Like, you can't, but it was near impossible to move. The only way, like, I was barely able to get out from even at the back where I was. It was just packed so tight. So, but yeah, just 100%. Venues just need to stop doing this shit. Venues need to cut this shit out. If anyone's watching that runs a venue, or if anyone sees this that runs a venue, you have to put your customers' safety first. You have to put your staff and your band's safety first. And if you just want people to enjoy themselves, don't oversell your shit, because what happens is it gets way too tight. And people don't want to go back there. They don't want to go back there because they go, well, last time we went, it was way too crowded and we literally couldn't move. It was a nightmare. I don't want to go to another show there. And people just won't go. And you can say, oh, fair enough, but there's always other people that'll go. Not forever.
Yeah.
Not forever.
Not just that, if something does happen, your venue's going to get shut down so quick and there's going to be lawsuits on your hand and the rest of it, and... Mate,
Yeah.
one person spills a drink on the wrong person, and there's going to be a massive fight that breaks out. The next thing you know, you got 500 people in the venue that are punching on. It's silly. It's silly.
Sound guy knocks a beer over on the wrong cable. All of a sudden, you've got an electrical fire.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
know, like,
it was-
these aren't uncommon things. Like this shit like this happens when venues aren't packed. So
Yeah, I reckon if I had to guess, I probably would say it felt like it was oversold by probably about 200 tickets for a 1,000-person venue.
Is this the first time that you've experienced that?
First time I've experienced that ever.
okay.
So
Because I know you've been to a fair, we've done our, like, between us all, we could probably fucking hit the triple digits in shows that we've been to.
yeah,
Mhm.
You know, like
100%.
well into the triple digits.
yeah,
But-
and I've been to crowded shows before. I've been to crowded shows since like after the pandemic. Kind of. Well, I mean, no, it's not over, but you know, in lulls in the pandemic, I've been to crowded shows. This was not it. This was a different level.
This was dangerous.
So
Okay.
I feel like this was pushing into dangerous territory. So yeah, that's my thing. I'm just like, don't oversell your shit, guys. Please, you got to be realistic about this. You have to. Yeah, it's not worth risking people's lives for a little bit of extra cash with that. It's really not.
And if you're that type of scumbag that doesn't value people's life, just think about the lawsuit that'll be on your hands if someone does get hurt.
Definitely.
So-
You're making me think of. I was just watching the Woodstock '99 documentary on Netflix. It sounds
Is that any
exactly
good?
like
I
that.
haven't watched it. I haven't watched it yet.
Dude, that was the year
Sounds exactly like what you're talking
Limp
about.
Bizkit played that year. Deftones played that year. Ice Cube played that year. It was like the new metal Woodstock. It was like everything that we ever loved from like the 90s was at that Woodstock, and the whole day one was okay, and then it just went from there. But in saying that, that's what happens when you fucking probably get a bunch of.
I won't say anything. I will suggest watching it though.
Yeah.
All right. I'll definitely go out of my way to do that then. I've been hearing some good things about it, so I think you've clinched it for me.
Yeah, nice.
What about you guys? You guys got a rant or anything you want to just randomly go off about?
I've got a little one.
Yeah?
Have you guys obviously seen this Metallica thing from Stranger Things, and you know that Stranger Things scene where he played Master of Puppets, and
I'm aware, yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and you know Metallica have picked up all these new fans and stuff like that, and it's gotten to a stage now where they've dredged up stuff from like 20, 30 years ago, and people have gone on this mad bandwagon to try and get Metallica cancelled. It's come out on TikTok and shit like that. I don't use TikTok. I've just sort of heard about it passing by. It's a lot of pissed off little teenagers, obviously, that have way too much time in their hands to actually go through that amount of fucking video footage to find it, firstly. So just play video games instead. That's my first bit of advice. Secondly, it's just, dude, these guys, at the end of the day, metal's been trying to get cancelled for fucking since its birth, mate. You ain't touching it. The only way Metallica will ever be brought down is if by some weird fucking chance someone comes out with some massive alleged sex scandal. That would be, honest to God, falling short of that, mate, you ain't touching. There ain't nothing, mate. There ain't nothing you can bring up. You couldn't cancel Joe Rogan. You fucking ain't cancel fucking Metallica.
Yeah. I haven't seen the footage in question, or the stuff in specific items in question. I have heard a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember, my thing, as always, anytime it comes to, you know, oh, someone said this 10, 20, 40 years ago, so that, you know, they're a horrible person, they need to be cancelled. My thing about that is, you know, it doesn't allow for personal growth. I think there's lines of where the border is on what's, you know, oh, that was a long time ago, so it doesn't matter, and not that it doesn't matter necessarily, but, you know, like, okay, the Marilyn Manson sexual assault stuff like that. That's like he physically did that to people.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, he physically did that to people. That 100%. Yep, he needs to get taken. He needs to get taken down for it. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants you around here when you're doing that sort of shit. If it's 20 years ago, someone, a bunch of the boys being the boys while drinking and just getting to do what they love with their best friends and just be out there fucking
causing havoc,
being silly buggers on the road and being rock stars and whatever. If they're making poor taste jokes or saying poor taste comments, okay, they did it, they said it, it's obviously not okay that they said it, but is that who they are now?
These people are married.
It was 20 years ago.
These people are married with families now.
Yeah, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. How is it reasonable to hold people to account now for things that they've said that long ago? If they've clearly shown that they've changed now, especially. Look, if we're going back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I've said shit that that me now would be horrified by. And I am horrified that I've said those things. That's not the person I am now. And, I regret saying these things. And if I could take them back, I would. I'm just lucky that social media was not really a thing then, and not everyone had phones. But, there's this idea of trying to cancel people, and look, I'm not, and it's so hard to defend this. It's so hard to have this position of being against canceling people for things that they've said a long time ago without coming across as, like woke culture. Everyone just wants, everyone wants to get cancelled. Blah blah blah. Like, some people need to be cancelled. Some people need to be taken down.
What's funny? We're talking about this. You brought up Snoop Dogg before, yeah? Just real quick. You brought up Snoop Dogg before, yeah? I saw an interview with Snoop Dogg a day or two ago. He was on one of those morning rap shows, yeah? And a female radio host presenter turns around to Snoop and goes, "Oh, do you hate, you used to say some pretty heinous shit back in the day, about women and stuff like that. And do you have saying it, 20 years ago and thinking about it now, do you sort of think differently?" And he goes, "No, fuck that, fuck them hoes." He goes, "No, I own that shit."
Yeah. Well,
but he's come out and fucking said it. Has anyone actually given Metallica the opportunity to fucking come out and say anything?
And that's the thing. Why is... That's you say. That's recent that he's saying that. That's recent that he's saying that. Why are these people not directing their attention there? Why is it,
Because it's Snoop. You can't touch Snoop, just like you can't touch Metallica.
Look, if people are acting like bitches, they deserve to get called bitches.
That's it. Male or female. Male or female. Like, I'm sorry. I'm a bitch sometimes. God, come on.
You got that, and that's the thing. Someone like Snoop Dogg, who has had so much fame and success over such a long career now, he has had a lot of women throw themselves at him because of the fame, because they want to try and get something out of it, because they want to try and get the fame, because they want to try and get the whole thing. Your situation that you talked about on one of our earlier podcasts with the hot sauce in the condom.
Yeah, Drake, the whole Drake situation.
Like, people... I'm not surprised that, someone like Snoop Dogg would be out here going, the women that approach me in that way, that want to throw themselves at me to try and get something out of me, they're hoes.
Yeah.
Fuck them hoes.
Yeah. Mate,
that makes sense to me in that way.
If it's coming from Snoop, he's not talking about all of them. The guy's married with 8 kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, back then, you know what? You want to hear some messed up stories? Start asking the roadies what girls used to have to do to get backstage.
That was funny. Funny that you
no, go.
I was saying, it was funny you brought up Drake as well. I was listening to your last podcast and I decided to give Drake's latest album a go.
You didn't. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Why did you do that to yourself,
I
mate?
sprayed that thing.
In a way that you suggested it, I was out of morbid curiosity. I thought I'd give it a go.
Fucking bad, wasn't it? How far did you get? How far did
What's
you
your
get?
thoughts?
I think I got by the third track. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I've got to tap out. I'm sorry, Drake, on the on chance that you're watching, I love you, but sorry, mate, can't do it.
That was terrible, man. It was fucking
Wow.
bad. That's bad shit.
All right. What do you say we take this one home, boys?
Let's do it.
Sounds good, man.
Rightio. So, now as we mentioned at the start of the video, we have the reaction video for Slaughter to Prevail's 1984 song and film clip. That's going to be going live on the YouTube channel very, very shortly after this podcast finishes. So please go over there and check it out. If you're listening to this down the line, the video is probably still going to be up there. If you haven't seen it, go and give it a watch, give it a listen. It's another brilliant song by Alex Terrible and the rest of the team over there. So really, really well done. Amazing production as always. It just absolutely just punches you in the face with those riffs and those drums. So that's really, really good. In terms of what I've got coming up, we've got the Nuclear Vision gig. They're playing at the at Mansfield Tavern on the 20th of this month. So that is like 9 days away as part of the Heavy Mag 10th birthday show. So shout out to Crispy and all the rest of the Nuclear Vision boys for that one as well. That's going to be awesome. I think we're playing like 4 o'clock or something. I don't know. That's an amazing lineup. It's got like, Frankenbach is one of the headliners on that. So that's going to be incredible. If you're around, go check that out. If you're not going to that show, then there's the fundraising show for Adam that's taking place elsewhere. So please consider going to that or donating some money for that.
Post that on the page before the weekend.
We will. We 100% will. We'll put that up.
Please give support.
Absolutely. The guy really needs it. That's about all from me. I think by the time we're doing the next podcast, I might actually be on the road. I'm going to be doing a little road trip through New South Wales, maybe heading down to Canberra, see if I can catch up with some friends down there, coming back up through Sydney and everything. So if you're going to be around, let me know. I'll be going through probably Orange, Dubbo, Canberra, Nowra, Sydney, making my way back up, coming through the Central Coast, everything. So if you're watching this and you're one of my buds from around any of those areas, drop me a line and we'll tee something up 100%. But yeah, I think the next one will be from a hotel room wherever I happen to be on the Thursday that we do it. So that'll be good. I'll try. Got to remember to take all the stuff that I need for the podcast.
Laptop and your mic.
Yeah, but so that's about all for me. What about you, Kyle? Have you got anything coming up on Beer Buddy or
Saturday? I'm doing one of my streams, my non-monetizable streams, where I just sit around, I get drunk. There's been a lot of bands that have been bringing out some video clips, so I'm going to be perusing some local video clips from some of the local boys and girls, just maybe do 1 or 2 reactions, because I know I haven't watched the new Crave video clip yet. I've been waiting for this weekend to do it.
Yeah, I watched that one. It's not bad. It's not bad.
I'm looking forward.
You know,
to it. Just got to give you a shout out to Crave though. Seeing them for the first time.
How good?
Holy hell.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
They're really good. Love that whole crew there. You know, they're all quite young as well, so they got a long way that they can go. You know, fingers crossed. I think that over time, as they develop and evolve their sound, they'll get even better.
Yep.
Which is a scary prospect.
Yeah, just
but yeah,
high
they're a name.
Rock and roll, man. It was
fantastic. They're a name. I mean, I know we probably mentioned them a couple of times on here. If you're not from if you're from Brisbane, you probably heard of them. If you haven't seen them, if you're from anywhere else in Australia or the world, go check them out. Krave, very solid band, very worth checking out.
Yeah. Hard workers too. Really, they really take.
Oh, they're always playing somewhere.
Going back to what
Stoj
said, you know, like it's they do the whole thing. They do the entertainment stuff. They do little skits. Yep. Their merch is pretty on point. I got one of their shirts. It's pretty good, and they try and do the whole package. They're trying to entertain. and use that music as, and the beautiful thing is that when you make those little videos like that, you can put your own music in the background. You're not going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and I mean, Stoya, you know, you mentioned there's some releases coming up for Lycanthrope and NOVEAUX, and maybe, and keep an eye out on the socials for those ones. Yep. So, yep, absolutely, definitely go check out Lycanthrope and NOVEAUX. If you haven't heard either of these bands, you're in for a hell of a treat. I tell you what.
Change your life, man. It'll change your life.
Yeah. Definitely. Right, is there anything else that you got coming up that you want to talk about, man? Anything else that's lined up for you?
What about yourself? God, you got something?
Ooh, I gotta keep quiet on a few things, but
You tease.
Is there anything you want to plug? Do you want to give any shout outs to anyone or anything like that?
Obviously, you want to give a shout out to my boys in Lycanthrope and NOVEAUX. Obviously, the boy coming back from Varkan, got to give a shout out to Krin from Croatia, Orca from the Philippines. Man, there's too many to mention at the moment, but look, there's been a lot of bands that we played with both overseas and in the country at the moment, and they know who they are. They're killing it, and they deserve all the praise.
Actually, you know who I did catch some of at that show that you guys played up in Brizzy, that band I hadn't seen before that I was really, really impressed by. Snake Mountain.
Those boys crush it every time I see them. I've played with them with both bands, and I've got nothing but love for those boys.
Yeah, I've had the singer Neville on Facebook for a little while since I moved up here, but that was my first time actually seeing the band live, and I was blown away, like absolutely floored by how good they were. So, all right, well, look, that's all from us, guys. You know, like, share, subscribe. We'll do all the good stuff. We're on all of the socials. Get on over to our YouTube in a few minutes and check out that reaction video, Slaughter to Prevail 1984. Massive thank you to our guest, the mighty Stoya. Thank you so much, dude, for coming on here. We'll share any stuff you guys have got coming up. Let us know when there's posts to share about it, and we'll share it. You know, again, cannot thank you enough for coming on at such short notice and doing the whole thing. You've been amazing. We definitely got to get you back on soon, I think.
Pleasure, boys. Anytime.
Thank you, man. You're an absolute legend. Congratulations again on Varkan, man. Seriously, you've cemented yourself in the heavy metal history in Australia, and it couldn't go to a better bunch of blokes.
Thanks, boys. It's not over yet.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Lastly, as always, guys, look, you know, we know the world's pretty rough out there these days. Please be kind to yourself and everyone else. You know, you don't know what other battles that people are going through, and, you know, you deserve to be kind to yourself as well. So, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to Zach, to Craven, Daddy Frank, everybody jumping in the chat, everybody who didn't speak in the chat.
We love we love it.
You guys are the MVPs. Thank you so much, everybody. We out.
Peace.